If there's one matter that I see boards not consistently do well, it's setting out delegations of authority in a clear policy. And it's really important to set that out because under the Constitution, the directors have all the powers. Typically their powers are around being able to enter into contracts, being able to raise money, to be able to borrow money. And unless the board delegates that to the CEO has no authority to act. So that delegation of authority policy is really key. And often it's not a problem until it's a problem, and that's because a decision's been made that's gone bad and everyone's scrambling to look at where the authority actually sat to make the decision. I've also seen some delegations of authority policies in place, but they're incomplete and they also cause problems. So some issues that I see in that regard are delegations only dealing with financial matters. And of course, delegations should also deal with non-financial matters, employing people, entering into sponsorship agreements, new business streams, for example. Delegations sometimes can be set too low, which means matters have to come back to the board on a regular basis. And this can slow down management decision making, can also cause the board to be overly operational. Conversely, I've seen delegations sometimes set too high. And this means that really the directors are probably not quite exercising the appropriate level of care and due diligence over the company. If we look at delegations from another perspective, really what they are is an expression of risk appetite, and that's not a bad lens for the board to look at. Higher risk matters should be reserved for the board's authority. From another perspective, I guess the delegations of authority almost set out the difference between governing and managing in a board. Matters the board reserves for itself are obviously relevant to its governing functions. Matters that delegates to the CEO are relevant to operations. So to bring that together, what does a good delegation of authority policy look like? Well, firstly, it deals with financial and non-financial matters, and it's regularly reviewed because as the business changes, delegations need to change. Secondly, it's got some really clear principles on which delegations can be exercised, and that's things like ensuring that delegations take into account conflicts of interest, that there can't be splitting of payments to get around limits, etc. Thirdly, there needs to be really good tracking and internal controls and audit processes to make sure delegations are adhered to in practice. And fourthly, the board should really be concerned about delegations to the CEO and give the CEO the ability to sub-delegate from there. So hopefully there's some good items there you might think about in your board's delegation of authority policy.